The theme of the Ed Camp is taking kids places, taking them to the world. Okay? So be thinking about that. As we start talking about Google, the things you can do with Google, what we really want to stress is going beyond just making your worksheets digital. While that's a cool thing, it's still a worksheet, and what we really want to do is get our kids out into the world and doing it. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about for the next 15 minutes or so this morning. So I want you to be thinking about what if you had no boundaries, if you had no limits, okay, if you had no budget, if you could take your kids anywhere in the world and do anything in the world, what would you do? So be thinking about that, but before we start, let me tell you a little about myself, okay? I was born in a small town in Idaho, marked by the red dot there. Really nothing around. It was super small, about 500 people. Okay. To me, the center of the universe was a town called Idaho Falls, Idaho. That's where we went to do all of our shopping. Okay. Every time we would go to Idaho Falls, I was convinced that I would come across the house from my favorite TV show. Okay, anybody recognize this house? Okay, young people are like, got nothing. Okay, the Brady Bunch, right? I was convinced driving around Idaho Falls that I would see this house, and several times I remember going, "Oh, that's the one, that's it," because it looked maybe similar to it. Okay, I had no idea that Hollywood, California was even a place. No idea. Incidentally, did you know that the Brady Bunch house is real? This is it right here. It's on Dilling Street in Los Angeles, California. You can look it up. Okay, the people who live there now put up the fence because people still come by their house all the time. Oops, Brady Bunch house, right? It's a real house. You can check that out on Google Earth. You can take your kids to the Brady Bunch house. Okay. But back to my story. This is a satellite image of where I grew up. This is my house in Mackay, Idaho. It's actually 4 miles outside of the town of 500. I was born and raised on a farm. I'm a farm kid. I must admit, though, I didn't always live in that house. I used to live in a place far, far away. Right there. So when I was younger, this was where my family lived. My grandparents lived here. When they got too old to run the farm, they moved into town. We moved into the bigger house. So my growing up here, I was about 6 years old. This was my entire world. This was all I knew. Okay? And not to say it was a bad place, but it was all I knew. I didn't get to get out much. This is what it looks like. Okay? Gorgeous, isn't it? This is me getting my fishing pole ready to go fishing with the beautiful mountains in the background. This is part of our property. Okay? And this is a shot of my family. I'm the tall one. I know. But again, mountains in the background, tractors, that's where I grew up. That was my existence. Okay. This represents all of the distant places that I went up until I was 16 years old. Until I was 16, I never ventured farther than about 240 miles from my home. Okay? I got to go to Salt Lake City, Boise, Idaho for a track meet, Yellowstone Park, which was like a completely different world for me. But I also got to go to other exotic locations like Raft River to play football, to Salmon, Idaho to play basketball. Exotic locations. It wasn't until I was 16 years old that our football team qualified for the state playoffs that I got to go to northern Idaho, which is roughly 400 or 500 miles away, to Kellogg and Moscow, Idaho. So until I was 16, I never ventured farther than this. Really didn't leave the state more than just a few times. How many of our students have this same kind of situation? That have never left Sweetwater County, or have never been farther than maybe Salt Lake City, or maybe Denver, something like that. If they get to go to a different state, Colorado was like a completely different world for them. But what if, when I was 19, I did get to go somewhere else. I got to go to Japan, okay? Spent 2 years in Japan, and I got to see such things as the Buddha statue and lean up against signs of a relationship. So I did get to experience the world finally. But what if? What if? Because those pictures were okay, right? We got a little glimpse of what it is, still photos, okay? But what if we weren't limited to that? What if we could do so much more? So I'll give you an example. This is the Big Lost River, it's the end of our property. When I was baiting my hook earlier, this is the river I fished in, okay? You can see it's looks pretty nice, it's kind of beautiful, okay? But what if I could give you a completely different experience of what that river looks like? What if you could show your students your favorite hunting spot, your favorite camping spot, favorite fishing hole, favorite place to go hiking? What if you could show your students that who have never had the chance to go to the mountains? What if you could do that? How would that change what you did every day and what your students did every day? Okay? This is me in front of the Hard Rock Cafe in Tokyo. Proof that I was there. Right? Does it look any different than, other than the funny characters on the sign, does it look any different than what any other restaurant would look like in any other town? What if I could take you, and I want you to pay particular close attention to this sign and this red sign, okay? What if I could take you to, using Google Street View, I could take you to that location. You see the red sign? And that sign, still the same. And this was in February 2016. I was there in 1992, and it's still the same. So you could take your kids on a virtual tour of a different place. How would that change what they did every day? How would that change what you did each day? How many of you have students, kids of your own? And they come home from school and you ask them this question? And what do they say? Yeah, it's good. What'd you do? Nothing. Okay. What if it wasn't that way? What if your kids came home and said, we went to the San Diego Zoo today. We got to see the monkeys in the San Diego Zoo. How would that change what you did each day? What if they came home and said, we got to explore the Amazon rainforest. We got to look around, got to see trees, waterfalls. How would that change what they did and you did each day? What if your kids got to design drones out of Legos and try and get them up and flying and explore the concepts of science? How would that change what you and they do each day? What if your kids got to collaborate and share stories and culture with kids at a high school in Taiwan? How would that change what you do and what they do each day? Anybody see what they're holding there? Those look familiar to you at all? Those are stickers that say world famous Rock Springs coal. Okay? This really happened. The teacher at the high school and I put this together where our kids from Rock Springs were working with kids from Taiwan, sharing stories, sharing pictures, sharing culture. How would that change what they do each day and what you do each day? What if your son or daughter came home and said, today I designed a fire-breathing dragon and I got to print it off on a 3D printer and here it is? How would that change what you do and what they do each day? What if you could make friends with people from all over the country and have them visit with you on a personal level?
Hey there, Rock Springs, Wyoming. I'm Brad from Kansas, tech director to K-12 school. I hear you're doing an ed camp, and I've been to a few of those. They're not quite as cool as Podstock, but they're pretty cool. I just want to encourage you to go to a session that you know nothing about, that you might be afraid of, the content or the topic that's being discussed in that session, and really just dive in. Get as much as you can out of today. You never know what somebody in the classroom next to you is doing that just might blow your mind. Anytime we can step out of our own comfort zone and dive into something new, something innovative, we can really change our whole outlook. That's what we ask the students to do, is to learn something new, to change their outlook, and to broaden their horizons and go further in life. So I encourage you to do that today. Enjoy, and I'll be wishing I had your weather down here in Kansas. Take care.
I met Brad 2 weeks ago at a conference in Wichita. And I reached out on Twitter about a week and a half ago to anybody and said, could anybody do a welcome message to Ed Camp? And Brad said, yeah, I'll do one. Did his video, popped it on YouTube, sent me the link, and here it is. So what would it be like if your students could collaborate, talk to people from all over the country? Experts are willing to do things for kids. For adults, maybe not. Don't have time for old people, but for kids, especially little kids, they will do a lot of things for little kids. So please keep that in mind. So why does this matter? To me, it matters a great deal. I love educational technology, not just because the tools are cool and fun. It's been something I've been interested in since I was this tall. Since I was sitting around, remember the old tape recorders? Put the cassette tape in, and I'm taping the commercials to sell my dad's hay and grain and stuff to local people. It's been an interest of mine. But why does it matter to me? These are my 5 kids, okay? And there's several of you in here. Raise your hand if you have taught one of these 5 children. Look around, okay? Now, granted, 5 kids, they're in 4 different schools, they're spread out, okay? These are my kids, but raise your hands again. They were your kids too, right? Okay? They're your kids. These are my kids. I don't even know their names, but they're my kids. Okay? And they're your kids. You probably recognize some of them. These are my kids. These are your kids. These are our kids, even though the wrestlers are still our kids. That's why it matters to me. It matters to me because I want my children to come home from school, not with a stack of worksheets that they've done, but with experiences where they can say, today I got to go to the Amazon. I got to go to Antarctica and look at penguins. And they can do that without having to leave Rock Springs. It's not the same as the real experience. It's not authentic. Well, it is authentic. It's not the same as being there and seeing and touching it with your hands. It is pretty darn close. Okay? How many of you know what these are? If you do not, you need to get to know what this is. Because you can do 360 video, and you can pop a phone and device in here, and you can have a kid put this on, and he is instant or she is instantly transformed to wherever you go. Okay. We'll do a session later on today that kind of goes over some of those, and there are some options that we have if we don't have access to those. Why does it matter? This right here is, each box represents a single week in the life of a 90-year-old or someone who lives to be 90 years old. Okay? Is that a lot of boxes? Put it into perspective. A 16-year-old falls roughly right there. A 16-year-old kid has already used up that many weeks of a 90-year-old. Okay? If you're in your 40s right now, like me, that's where you're at.
Can you go to the next slide?
Right. Why does it matter? We think these kids have the world ahead of them. They've already used up a lot of their life. But are we wasting that on having them do worksheets? and having them take tests instead of giving them authentic experiences that we can do. What you're going to learn about today, you're going to learn about collaborating with people. You're going to learn about collecting data. You're going to learn about coding. You're going to learn about gamifying your classroom. You're going to learn about how to get kids working together on projects. Kids working together on projects that don't necessarily, they may not even be in the same classroom. They might be in a different country. Right? You're going to learn about those things today. And if this sounds overwhelming to you, that's okay. Because think about where your kids are. This is the world that we need to take them to. Not only the physical world. We can go on field trips and take them up White Mountain, which is an authentic experience. We can take them to Salt Lake to museums. We can take them to Rollins. We can take them to these places. But we can also, we have a whole digital world that is available to them for free. Every tool we're going to show you here today is free, as long as you have the device to get them there. Digital world, a world of design where they can create their own 3D images. Okay? They can learn about all of that. Mathematics, science. They can learn about that. A world of performance. Okay? These kids are raised in the American Idol generation, right? They want to perform, they want to talk, they want to speak, they want to get their message out there. That's why they make YouTube videos, they make Vines, right? They're on Instagram. They want their message out there. They show up to school, they expect an opportunity for them to get their message out to the world. Please let them do that. A collaborative world. No longer do they have to rely on just you as a teacher for information or the textbook for information. The world is there for them to do it. They can reach out to students from other countries. Say, what's school like for you? What does your house look like? Okay, this is my front yard. I've got grass and trees. What does your front yard look like? What's a yard? There are more people living in an apartment complex in Hong Kong than live in the entire city of Rock Springs. We're talking one apartment complex. Our kids can see that and they can share their experiences with other kids across the world. That's why it matters to me. I want my kids to have that experience, and I hope that you want the same experience for your kids. We can do it with Google. It may not happen on the first day. There's a lot of learning that will go on here today. It may not happen on the first day. Reach out and try something. Try something new. Try something that is going to get your kids to another place, to another world, to experience something beyond just this world. So the world is out there for us. The question is, where will you let them go?